विश्व सेहत संगठन WHO ਦੇ ਇੱਕ ਅਧਿਕਾਰੀ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਤੇਜ਼ੀ ਨਾਲ ਫੈਲ ਰਹੇ ਮੌਂਕੀ ਪਾਕਸ ਦੇ ਪ੍ਰਕੋਪ ਨੂੰ ਰੋਕਿਆ ਜਾ ਸਕਦਾ ਹੈ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਅਸੀਂ ਇਸ ਸਮੇਂ ਅਜੇ ਵੀ ਵਿਸ਼ਵਾਸ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਕਿ ਮੌਂਕੀ ਪਾਕਸ ਦੇ ਇਸ ਪ੍ਰਕੋਪ ਨੂੰ ਸਹੀ ਸਮੂਹਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਹੀ ਰਣਨੀਤੀਆਂ ਨਾਲ ਰੋਕਿਆ ਜਾ ਸਕਦਾ ਹੈ, ਪਰ ਸਮਾਂ ਲੰਘਦਾ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ ਅਤੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਅਜਿਹਾ ਕਰਨ ਲਈ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਹੋਣ ਦੀ ਲੋੜ ਹੈ।
We are seeing an increase, a continued increase in case detections of COVID-19. It's the 5th or 6th week in a row where we're seeing increases in the reported numbers of cases. Last week alone, there were around 6.6 million cases reported to WHO. About a third of the cases that were reported in the last week were in the Western Pacific, and about 25% of the cases that were reported were in the Americas. And we're really seeing a sharp increase in a number of cases driven by Omicron. Of the sequences that have been shared in the last 4 weeks or so are BA.5, one of the sublineages, and there are even further sublineages of BA.5. So this virus continues to evolve. So we do see Omicron remaining dominant, and there are hotspots, as I said, around the world. This is driven by a number of factors. It's driven by intense mixing of individuals in the absence of mitigation measures, in the absence of wearing masks and distancing. And while vaccination coverage is increasing, population level immunity is increasing, that doesn't protect against infection. And it doesn't protect against transmission. So the virus continues to circulate. Now, if we look at deaths, this is the other thing that we are tracking at a global level, which we've been tracking since the beginning. Deaths are also increasing, and deaths have been increasing for the last 5 weeks. Last week alone, we had more than 12,000 deaths reported to WHO. In fact, 12,689 deaths reported to us. And each week, if you go back and you actually look at our epi curves, we have to correct the number of deaths that are reported to us, actually increasing those a little bit each week because there is a lag in the reporting of how many people have died. This is driven by some groups that are not well protected with the vaccine, meaning they have not been vaccinated or they have not received the full number of doses that are required for them. Almost half of the deaths that were reported in the last week were from the Americas, and about 33% of those deaths were in Europe. We did a quick look at some of the cases, and among the top 50 countries that have had reported increases in deaths, 35 countries had more than a 100% increase in deaths reported in the last week. Now, some of these are small numbers and almost a doubling of those small numbers, but some of these numbers are quite large. 3 countries had more than 1,000% increase in deaths in the last week. So we really need to look at what's happening there, and we're trying to do a much deeper dive in each of these countries. What we do understand in terms of deaths is that the people who are more likely to die, and this is consistent across all countries, are people who are not vaccinated. And then if we look even deeper into that, we need to look at the proportion of people vaccinated who are over 60 and how many doses did they receive? Did they receive the full primary course plus the recommended booster doses? And we do see that it's that incomplete vaccination among those who are most at risk that's really driving this.